Hello again, my friend. In this video, we're going to use Unity's nav mesh system, you can see the blue stuff there, to have our player move to a target in our scene. So let's jump in and get started. Soon we'll set up the functionality where we click to move our player, but for now we're going to make it a little bit automated, and to do that we'll have a target that we just make our player walk towards. So in my scene, I'm going to create a new object, 3D object. We'll make this a sphere, and we'll call it target. There we go, target. Target, I'm going to move just away from the player somewhere. It doesn't really matter. Have it down at ground level so there's no issues. I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it nice and easily. There we go. Looks fine. Okay, next up we want to just make sure that our camera is going to see the action. At the moment, if we look through our camera, or is it main camera, you can see our viewport down here. It's looking at, no, I don't know what, the ground or something. If while I'm selected on my camera, I move it around, you can see that update. Oh, there's my player just there. The camera is pointing at the player. So what I'll do is get my scene view in a spot where I like it. So I'm in the scene tab, just move around a little bit. That's where I can see most of the action go on. And then while the main camera is selected, go up to the game object and align with view. Means that the camera will be moved so that we see exactly what I see in my scene view here. So when I rotate around a little bit, you can see that my camera has now been moved to that spot where I was looking at just a second ago. This is what we see in our camera when we click play on the game. Okay, now for the most important part of this video, we need a nav mesh. So go to Window, find AI, and open up Navigation. In here, we've got 4 tabs. Mostly, we're going to be focused on the Bake tab for the moment. And if we have a look in our scene, look at your terrain and your buildings and stuff, when you click the Bake tab, take a moment, and then a lot of the place turns blue. This blue stuff is our navigation mesh. This is where our navigation agent is going to walk and say, I can walk here and not walk there. And you can see, I'll explain this in the next video. We'll go into a little bit more depth on how to fine tune and control on what's going on. But you can see here, there's this line around my building that says, well, the player can't walk through there. There's no navigation mesh, so we're not going to be able to walk into that particular area. Similarly, we can't walk on the side of the mountains because there is no navigation mesh there. So this is a way for the player to say, okay, where can I go? I can walk anywhere on the blue. I have to avoid spots where there is no blue. And for this particular lecture, we're going to say, let's just walk from here to the target point on the map. At any point in time, you can just click Rebake again. So if I clear it, it all goes away. And then there is no navigation mesh at the moment. If I click Bake, then it just rebakes it again. And as we tweak and tune stuff in the next video, you'll see that slight changes take place in our navigation mesh. The other thing we need to do is click on our player, go back to Inspector, make sure you're not still accidentally clicked on the Navigation tab, and we're going to add a new component. So click on Add Component and type in Nav Mesh Agent. So you see Nav Mesh Agent, click to add that. Nav Mesh Agent has a bunch of different cool stuff, speed, angular speed, acceleration, etc. This is what's driving the game object that the Nav Mesh Agent has been placed on. So we now have our player with a nav mesh agent that's going to move it. And it's going to move it where? You guessed it, it's going to move it along the nav mesh. And we're going to do that as a challenge. And this is a challenge where I think if you know this stuff, then it should be a good meaty challenge. If you don't know this stuff, I'm going to give you a couple of hints, so they should be able to figure it out. So what I'd like you to do is create a mover.cs script and attach that to the player. And then to serialize, within this script, serialize a transform target variable that we can assign our target game object to. And then within the update method, you're going to have one line where we want to get the nav mesh agent component, so get component, and set its .destination value as the target's current position. Okay, so if you're feeling a little bit advanced, that's the challenge. It's a good intermediate challenge for an intermediate course, starting off with something meaty, hopefully. But if you look at that and you say, I've got no idea, not a problem, here are the hints. So if that's enough, jump in, take on that challenge. If you want the hints, here they are. The hints are, the target is currently at target.position, and we use getComponent nav mesh agent.destination. So basically you're assigning the value of target position to the nav mesh agent's destination. And just as one last clue, you may need to add the unity.ai namespace. Okay, so there's enough clues in there that you should be able to piece it together pretty straightforwardly. If not, no worries, we'll go through it together, but give it your best shot, as if you've not been through our courses before, the most important part of our courses is taking on the challenge. So I implore you, whether you think this is really easy or really difficult, jump in nonetheless, give it your best shot, and once you have given it your best shot and really thought about it, I'll see you back here and I'll show you my solution. Okay, so I think this is a pretty straightforward script to create. I will start off by giving myself a script folder, keep ourselves nice and neat. So create folder, scripts, and within my scripts folder, I will right click, create C# script and call this mover. Okay, mover, while I'm here, I often forget this step and I feel dumb afterwards. I'm going to attach it to, grab it and drag it over onto player. So that now is a mover component on the player. Great. Double click, open up mover. This will be our first real time in Visual Studio Code. Okay, and you can see our warnings come up again about .NET Core debugging. This is not something we need to worry about, so I'm going to X out of this dialog, go over to the settings, which is in the bottom left corner. You see the cog there. Click on that, scroll up to the settings. And from here, while clicked on the settings tab, I'm going to search for CLI. That will show me under extensions. So here on the left, under extensions, C# configuration, click on that, and then suppress .NET install warning. So click the checkbox there, and our warning should be never more again seen. Okay, close the settings tab, and then back over to mover. I'm going to get rid of the start method, just leave in update. And at the start of our class, I'm going to serialize field, and this will be of type transform. And this will be called target. And then within our update, pretty straightforward, we're going to say get component, and then in our angle braces, it's the nav mesh agent we're getting, parentheses, dot destination, and that equals what? It equals target dot position. So it's basically saying change the destination for the nav mesh agent to the target.position. Now we're getting a red squiggly line. What's that mean? Well, usually it means we're missing a namespace. Let's mouse over it. Could not be found. Yep, so up the top here, we're using Unity engine, and I know this one's going to be .ai, semicolon, and then our squiggly line is gone. Save this up, back over into Unity. Now we have on our player, just check that we did assign that. I think I even made mention that I often forgot to say. Yep, so mover is a component on there. Cool. Now we find the target. We assign our target down into our target field. That means the player should walk to our target. We've set up our camera. Yes, there it is. Oh, some nice shadows and everything. Click on play. And there we go. Walking from A to B. Bloink, excellent. So that's the foundations, that's the fundamentals of using the nav mesh and applying a nav mesh agent to move from a certain point to another point. In the next video, we're going to get a little bit more complicated and just play around with obstacles, with static, and to look at the different variations we can have with our nav mesh tuning. So great work in this video, and I'll see you in the next video.